right? So, does anybody know what metabolism is? What your metabolism is?
It's the burning of our energy.
Right, it's how we burn energy, right? How we metabolize our foods, which is again how we burn energy. So let me make sure I do the right. This go? There we go. All right, so we're going to talk about the definition. We're going to talk about how we gain or lose weight, and then a couple tips. So metabolism is a process that your body uses to make and burn energy from food. We rely on that for everything, right? How we breathe, our heart pumping, everything that happens in our body is burning metabolism, right, every day. So we usually think about that in a calorie context, right? The more higher our metabolism is, the more calories we're burning, right? So we're expending energy. So they talk about calories in and calories out as far as losing weight, but a lot of it has to do with our metabolism and how we burn those calories as well. All right, so the components of the metabolism really fall into three different categories. One is your basal or resting metabolic rate, then your digestion, the thermogenic food rate. Have you ever heard of, this food has thermogenic properties? Have you ever heard of that? Can anybody name a food or something maybe that it's like that a lot of people talk about that is a natural thermogenic?
Hot pepper.
Hot pepper, yeah, they say that. Anything else you can think of?
Protonics?
Protonics? Maybe that might be a brand of like a thermogenic. But I'm thinking more natural, like some people will claim that apple cider vinegar is a natural thermogenic. There are different foods like that. Peppers are always a good one that people say are natural thermogenics. And then physical activity is another way, right, that we increase our metabolism through activity, through physical activity. So the resting metabolic rate is how many calories you would burn if you were doing nothing, right? So if you're just laying around, you're still burning calories. We're still burning calories even at rest, right? So through breathing, our heart pumping, our liver, every organ in our body is using calories to burn. So that is about 60 to 70% of our total energy expenditure just comes from the normal body functions that we have, all right? On average, they say that it falls right in the middle between 1,200 and 1,700, depending on the person, and there's a lot of determinants of where you're going to fall for women, and 1,700 to 2,200 calories. This is at rest. This is not doing anything extra, okay? This is what they're saying, calorie-wise, your body is burning just on your normal daily resting, okay, just being alive, all right? So if you think about somebody that is very sedentary, that is continually gaining weight, they're definitely eating more than this amount of calories, and that's why they're putting on weight, okay? You may have someone that, say, eats 2,500 calories every day growing up because they're very active. They don't change anything about their eating habits, but as they get older, they get more sedentary, and all of a sudden the weight starts packing on, probably all of us, right? We've all had that happen, right? So we're a lot more active when we were younger. Eating the same amount of food as we get older, it starts tacking on, and you know, we have to figure out new ways or be able to cut back on how to burn those calories. So that's because we're eating too much for what we're burning, and we're not putting the extra energy in, burning the extra energy through exercise anymore, through being so active. And here's the thermogenic effect of food then. So we did the resting, right? Now the thermic effect of food is how much we're going to burn when we're digesting that food that we're eating, right? Using that food. That you actually do metabolize those nutrients that you consume. So they say that 5 to 10% of the calories that we take in each day, we're actually burning those through digesting the food that we're eating. So protein actually burns more, uses more of a thermogenic effect than carbohydrates or fat. All right, so I think different studies say different things, but they say somewhere in the 20 to 30% range is what protein burns. That might be another slide of it. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here. So there you go, yeah. So then we have activity is our third way, right? So depending on the type of activity that you're choosing, right? Walking is going to burn some calories or expend energy. But then if you're running, that's going to expend more, right? So it depends on what type of activity you're doing. The amount of energy used depends on your body size as well. So I don't know if you've ever gotten on like a machine next to somebody that's a friend of yours. I do this all the time. I have a friend of mine that's about 25 pounds lighter than I am. So we can get on the same machine, we can do the same speed and everything, and I burn more calories than her. And she'll be like, that's not fair. And I'm like, well, because you weigh less than me. So you don't have as much to carry, your body's not working as hard, so I'm gonna burn more calories, right? Does that make sense? Right, so my body is bigger, heavier, I'm gonna burn more than she does. Or expend more energy, I should say it that way, than she does. So about 20 to 35% of the calories that we're taking each day, we use that up with our physical activity. So your body only needs about 500 calories to meet your normal needs every 4 to 5 hours. All right, so what do we usually do? What do people say? Generally, what do they suggest? How many times a day should we eat, or how often should we eat? What have you guys heard?
3 meals, 2 snacks.
3 meals, 2 snacks. That's kind of like the going trend. You know, you can read studies going for that. Studies saying no. You know, one of the new things they talk about now is fasting for like 16 hours a day and eating for 8 hours a day. There's all kinds of different crazy things out there. But on the general basis for the normal person, if you eat more often, it's not about having a higher metabolism when you eat more often. What it is keeping yourself satisfied for the right period of time and burning those calories. So if we eat too much at one time, what's going to happen with what we don't burn?
Store it.
We're going to store it, right? So just like this, when we talk about this, you're going to have excessive blood glucose and it's going to store. But if you eat smaller portions and eat more often, which is what I always teach whenever I try to come out, right? I say try to eat every 3 to 4 hours, smaller, right portion sizes, and then you can burn what you're eating, right? The amount of energy your body is using naturally through your activity that you're doing, and the thermogenic of your body absorbing that food or digesting that food is going to burn it so that in 4 to 5 hours later you're ready to eat again, right? Or 3 to 4 hours later, depending on how much you're ready to eat again. So it's a good idea to eat more often. It's just a good rule of thumb to eat smaller amounts more often so that your body continually burns and you're continually keeping your body revved up, burning and absorbing, right? Digesting that food. So let's talk about some different tips. We're going to go through about 6 different tips. I'm sure there's plenty more, but we're just going to talk about 6 of them. So tip number 1, eating enough calories and eating often. We just talked about the eating often portion, but what about eating enough calories? And I remember somebody talking about this in here before and talking about a formula. Does anybody remember what's the simple way to think about how many calories you're supposed to eat? Anybody heard of a formula?
10 times your body weight.
Man, you got all the answers today. You guys got to stop letting him answer. But that means he's paying attention. All right, so KISS, right? If you think of KISS, keep it simple, all right? Some people say keep it simple, stupid, right? That's the 2 S's, right? So, no, keep it simple. And body weight times 15 for maintenance. So calculate that in your head. What's your body weight times 15? That's for maintenance. If you're eating more than that, you're gaining. And again, this is not an exact science. Everybody can slightly vary. This is just a general formula. Body weight times 10 would be weight loss. Right? So think about that in your mind, and in order to figure out how many calories you're taking in, you'd have to probably track that for a few days. Most of us, in a 5-day period, we kind of will eat about the same amount of foods, especially during the weekday, Monday through Friday. You might indulge a little more on the weekends, right? You might take in a few more calories, but it's not hard to do, all right? So I'll be honest with you, I'm 150 pounds, so for me, if I want to lose weight, I need to take less than 1,500 calories in. I'm not doing that right now. Right? So in order to lose weight, that's where I need to be, is down around there. Now, can that change lately? Yes. If I am doing some more vigorous activity, if I'm doing longer activity, if I'm burning calories through more exercise, then that allows me to eat a little bit more food, right? So how many calories is 1 pound of fat? Do you know how many calories equals 1 pound of fat? No guesses? All right, so it's 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of fat. So sometimes, like on the weekends, I'll eat a lot of salty stuff, right? A lot more than I normally do throughout the week. We eat out a little more on the weekends. So like I can get on the scale Monday morning and I might be up 3 or 4 pounds. Now I know that that's not all fat, right? I know I didn't eat 3,500 times 4 calories in the 2 days of the weekend. I know I don't eat that much. But that's sodium, right? So that's where that water retention, water weight comes in, right? The actually fat, so I know on Monday morning I can be like, oh, I didn't gain 40, let me just cut the sodium out, and then within the next 2 days I'll drop several pounds just from the water retention. But if you are eating 3,500 more calories, so if you are, can someone give me like an amount, maybe throw out an amount? Or let's talk about me, all right? So you don't have to talk about yourself. So I said I have to eat 1,500 calories a day in order to lose weight, right? So if I eat 2,000 calories a day, that's a difference of what? 500 calories a day. If I do that every day for 7 days for 1 week, I've just gained 1 pound, didn't I? That's 3,500 calories. A 2,000 calorie diet is not hard to do, is it? I mean, you can go out to a restaurant nowadays and you're going to probably eat 1,500 calories in in one meal. Easy, easy. Anybody ever eat at Bonefish? I used to work there a long time ago. Their bang bang trip is 1,500 calories. That's just their appetizer, right? So, I mean, then you haven't even eaten the meal yet. So, I mean, I'm just saying it's very, very easy to do. And then we look at ourselves, and maybe we only do that by an extra 1,000 calories a week, but every 3 weeks we're putting on another pound. Now by the end of the year, we put on an easy 10 pounds, right? Just from that little bit of calories that we're taking in. So we want to, this is just an easy formula to say, here's about where I should be. Maybe some days if I do activity, I might take a little more calories in, but it's a good formula to see where we need to be if we want to lose weight. So again, regularly eating fewer calories than your body needs. Can also cause your metabolism to slow down, so you want to make sure you're eating enough. So if you're not eating enough, what do they call that? Put your body in what kind of mode?
Is it hibernation?
Or starvation, right? Hibernation or starvation mode, right? So they also say that too. You don't eat enough, so a lot of people that eat just maybe 1 or 2 big meals a day, they gain weight. Because their body is kind of hold on to that, saying, oh, they don't feed me enough, so I'm going to hold on to that. So you don't want to just be eating one big, does anybody do that in here? I know a lot of people would get so busy during the day, they eat one big meal at nighttime and then they go to bed, right? So now we have no activity after we eat it. We eat one big meal a day and our body says, oh, Kathy doesn't feed me enough, so I'm going to hold on to this, I'm not letting her use it, right? So we want to make sure, again, if we eat smaller portions throughout the day, it's going to be a lot better for us. So, and we talked about experts suggest about every 3 to 4 hours. And again, that's not really to increase your metabolism as much as it is to use what you've eaten so that it's not getting stored and give yourself even a more decreasing your hunger. If I get really hungry, I don't know if you guys are like this, but if I skip a meal and I get really hungry, I don't feel like I can fill the void. So I end up eating a little bit of everything. Nothing really satisfies me, so I end up eating a lot more because I'm just so hungry. When I finally eat, if I let myself get to that point. So you're better to eat when you're just starting to feel a little hunger maybe, but you don't want to eat when you're starving. They also say, what, don't go shopping when you're hungry, right? You know you should buy a lot more. You buy a lot more, and a lot more junk food when you shop when you're hungry. All right, so what you eat makes a difference also, okay? Let's just talk a little bit about that. I think I mentioned this a little bit ahead of this slide here, but protein has the highest thermic effect on your as far as the foods that we eat. So it's anywhere from 20 to 30% of the calories that we consume are used to digest protein. So that's a good thing. So a lot of times when you're on diets, they'll say, you know, make sure you're getting enough protein in. That's why the big fad is, you know, the no carb diets, which I don't believe in. I believe we still need carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates in our diet. But I do believe in make sure we get enough protein every day and a little bit of protein at every meal. So if you talked about 3 meals and 2 snacks a day, I would say even with your snacks, try to get protein. So instead of just grabbing some whole wheat crackers, maybe grab a piece of string cheese with those whole wheat crackers, or you know something that's getting, or put a little bit of natural peanut butter on those whole wheat crackers, so you get the protein as well as the carbohydrate, even in your snack. So if you tend to do that, it also helps us to feel satisfied longer too, which is something that's very important. Protein tends to make us feel full. You know, some people that do some of those no carbohydrate diets, the reason that they don't feel hungry is because they're eating so much fat and so much protein, and that helps them to feel full longer. So, Other foods that they say have thermogenic effect, we mentioned some of them. Again, these are not, you can read different studies that say it's based on science. You can read other studies that, that say it's not or whatever, but for the most part, these are things that people say have some thermogenic effect on your body. Not one of them standing alone can you do that's going to make you lose weight, all right, in a manner that you're going to be pleased with. Maybe I should say that. I think one study I read talked about the spicy foods, and it said putting a specific amount, taking in a specific amount of spicy food leads to, it was such a minute amount that over a 6-year period you lose 10 pounds. Okay, so that one thing isn't going to make a difference, right? But if we take all these different things, we incorporate all these different things into our diet, and there's more than just this. I mentioned apple cider vinegar and some other things as well. Eating the protein, make sure we're eating enough protein every day. All those things together in a healthy diet is going to help increase our metabolism. All right, but not one. You can't say, well, I'll just add peppers, and that's it. All right, that's not going to make a significant enough difference. Drinking enough water. This is important too, and a lot of it, again, is the calorie burning effect might be greater, especially if you drink cold water, again, because then your body has to warm itself up, right? It actually has to work harder to metabolize that water, so you want to make sure, drinking colder water if you can, if that feels comfortable to you. But again, just water in general is really important. Increases our metabolism by 10 to 30% for about an hour after we drink it. The other thing too is, helping us to feel fuller, right? A lot of times they say when we feel hungry, a lot of times it's that we're dehydrated, because most of us don't drink enough water. Anybody here feel like they drink enough water in a day? Yeah, probably coffee, soda, everything else, but it's not water. So everything else has calories in it that we need to be careful. And even if you are drinking non-caloric foods or drinking non-caloric drinks, you're still, you might be having things with caffeine, again, just slightly a dehydrant. So you want to make sure you're putting water into our bodies. And they say, they actually did some studies that said if you drink water half an hour before you eat, it helps to fill you up, helps you to feel less. So if you can do that about a half an hour, you're also going to, if you are dehydrated, you're going to be able to hydrate your body, and then you may not feel as hungry. So when you think about that, if you know you probably shouldn't be hungry just yet, drink some water, and you may find that you really aren't as hungry as you think. It really was just that you were dehydrated. Tip 4, exercise. So we all know that exercise is going to increase our metabolism. That's very, that makes a lot of sense to us, right? But mixing up the routine, so HIIT or high intensity workouts, those are really important. Just quick bursts of intense energy, exercise. Look at that. I mean, so, we've done our little circuits in here in our exercise routines before, and so we will do something for a few seconds, and then we might take a rest, move to the next station, do it again. So those are what they would consider like a high intensity or Tabata type workout. So those are, they say that tends to burn more fat and increases your metabolic rate a little bit faster. I know that if I get on a treadmill and I just walk at a certain pace, an average pace for 10 minutes, I may work up a sweat. But if I do that average pace for a minute or two and then do 30 seconds to a minute of a higher rate, and then even if it's not running, but just walking faster, and then pull it back, and I just alternate that, maybe a minute, 2 minutes, a minute, 2 minutes, it's a lot harder of a workout. You'll really feel the difference. So changing the intensity of your workout really does help you to burn more calories or help to increase your metabolic rate. And then, of course, adding in resistance training, whether that's body weight resistance, the bands that we've worked with before, lifting weights, something that is a resistance type training, something that's going to help you to build muscle. Muscle does, on an average, burn more calories than fat does. So someone that's very muscular, they can eat a few more calories because they're burning more calories even at rest. So their metabolic rate is just naturally going to be higher. So that's a nice thing to be able to have, right? So to have a little more muscle and be able to burn more calories at rest. Increase your NEAT. Does anybody remember when Liz Dumont was here talking about, she'd actually talk about the two culprits, right? One of the two big culprits to decreasing your metabolism. Do you remember what NEAT stands for? Anybody? That's a tough one to kind of remember. But anyway, it's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is NEAT, and it basically covers all forms of movement other than exercise, right? Or other than real, like, intense exercise. Like, just your walking is exercise, but they kind of make just your normal walking, like I'm doing around here talking to you, would be considered physical activity or part of NEAT, right? Now, walking at a solid pace for a solid period of time, that's when it becomes exercise. Does that make sense? So our normal walking around the job, you may say you're on your feet all day long, but it's not really considered exercise. However, it is considered NEAT, which does make a difference, all right? So I look at a couple different things, right? So someone like a nurse or something like that, or I don't know if anybody, is anybody here on their feet all day long? Probably not, right? Are you on your feet a lot? So, you know, I take like a nurse or something that's in the hospital, and she's on her feet all day long, and she's walking, and she does that consistently. She can still gain weight. She's doing a lot of activity. She's probably getting more than 10,000 steps a day, but depending on how she's eating, she could take that in, right? Your body actually gets used to that everyday activity, so it's not really burning that much more. Our bodies are so smart, all right? We have these little fibers, right, that are firing up every time that we are doing any form of exercise, right? If I get on the same exercise machine every single day and do the same pace every single day, it's going to be hard at first. But it's eventually going to become easier and easier for me. And if I don't change that pace in some way, or do something to make, or get on a different machine, my body will actually fire less, meaning it will be easier for my body to do it. It's going to burn less activity, or less, it's going to fire less metabolism, right? It's going to use less metabolism. It's going to get less fibers to be able to get that activity done, because my body is smart, and it's going to do whatever it can to be the most efficient at doing that, all right? So we have to mix things up, all right? If someone walks around all day for their job and then all of a sudden stops and gets a sedentary job or a job sitting at a desk, they're going to see themselves gain weight very quickly, all right? They just have stopped using those muscles. And yet if someone starts, who is sedentary but doesn't do any other exercise, but now they get a job that they walk around more, even though it's not consistent exercise, they're going to notice a difference where they're burning more calories. Hopefully that makes sense. So anyway, but NEAT is just the things that we do every day, right? So they say, how can you increase your NEAT? I can park further away, right? I can take more walks. I can use the stairs instead of the elevator. Just trying to add in burning more calories just on an everyday basis. What do they say is the new smoking now? You ever hear, they say
new sitting.
Sitting, right? They say the sitting disease, they call it. Sitting is the new smoking, they say, because we just sit so much. And so they say you can actually increase your metabolism just by standing up throughout your day. So, you know, I always talk to people about, you know, if you have an app on your phone or your set timer on your watch, if you sit a lot, just set something. They say you should do it every hour, but even if you do it every 2 hours, a little timer, or make note, at every even hour I'm going to stand up, and maybe I'm just going to do a couple squats over my seat. I'm just going to stand up and walk in place for 30 seconds. It's just going to boost your metabolism a little bit and get yourself burning throughout the day. All right, so think about ways to just increase your metabolism. So if you think about how steps add up, right, 5 minutes of a normal walk is about 500 steps. And that would be, if you do a 5-minute walk, you're getting about 2,000 steps. It takes about 2,000 steps, is about 1 mile, depends on your stride, it all changes slightly. But think about that. 10,000 steps, about 5 miles. American Heart Association suggests that we all should be striving for 10,000 steps a day. I would say the average person probably gets 3,000 to 5,000 a day, those people that I talk to. So we're definitely falling short of what we should be shooting for on the average day. So getting out there and just walking. And do you think it makes a difference if I walk 30 minutes at one time, or I do 3 different 10-minute walks? Do you think it makes a difference? No, it all adds up, right? I can do a 10-minute walk in the morning, maybe a 10-minute walk in the afternoon, 10-minute walk at dinner time or after dinner or something. It's all steps, it's all calories burned, it's all increasing my metabolism. In fact, I would almost argue to say doing that might actually be better, because all 3 times now I've increased my metabolism. right? So you're not gonna, after you finish exercise, it's not going to help your metabolism to increase for another 24 hours. However, you do burn calories and your metabolism is raised for a short period of time after each exercise bout. So if you can do a couple short exercise bouts, that works too. Again, gets that metabolism burning, and that's what we want. And then last but not least is going to be plenty of sleep. Who here is getting 7 hours or more of sleep every single night? Anybody? We have one. That's good. That's very, very rare. And usually in a room, it's going to be 1 or 2 people. Most of us do not get that kind of sleep. So, you know, we've talked about sleep before.
Six get it. First instructor doesn't get to kind of sleep.
Yeah.
You have 4 o'clock in the morning, I mean,
So you have to
you
go
ain't
to
going
bed
to
at 9,
bed at 7.
right?
Who's going to bed at 9?
So, and that's the thing, and we don't, you know, we would tell our children, you have to get up at 6, so you better go to bed at, 8 or whatever, but we don't give ourselves bedtimes, but we really should have a bedtime. If we know we need 7 hours of sleep, well, we need to make sure we get to bed 7 hours prior to when we gotta get up. It's hard to do though, we have busy lives, but they do say that there's a lot of growing evidence that sleep loss and sleep disorders do have an impact on metabolism. We know that when we are stressed and we're not getting a lot of sleep, that builds weight around the waist, right? The cortisol levels are